The Appalachian Mountains, a region stretching from Alabama all the way to Canada, are considered one of the most feared areas on Earth. For centuries, strange things have been reported here. Apparitions, shadows, mysterious sounds, and numerous disappearances make the region far from inviting to live in. The first inhabitants already noticed unusual phenomena in this area because these stories were passed down from generation to generation. Some of them have been preserved remarkably well. Before European colonization, the Appalachian Mountains were inhabited by two indigenous peoples, the Shawnee tribe and the Cherokee nation. They had the greatest influence on the region and are the source of much of the well-known folklore that is still told today. Unfortunately, many stories circulating on the internet are falsely presented as originating from these tribes when they do not. As a result, you may hear different stories in this video than those you have heard before. The Cherokee primarily lived in the southern Appalachians around what are now North Carolina, Tennessee, Georgia, and South Carolina. Their culture was deeply connected to the mountains, rivers, and forests. The Shawnee mainly lived around the Ohio Valley and the northern parts of the Appalachians. They spoke an Algonquian language, while the Cherokee belonged to a completely different language family. The Cherokee believed primarily in mountain spirits and spiritual beings, while the Shawnee focused more on spiritual forces and ancestral stories. The Cherokee viewed the world as a network of interconnected spirits, animals, and natural forces. Respect for nature was essential for maintaining harmony. The purpose of their stories was not to frighten people, but to encourage respect and reverence for their surroundings. Among the Cherokee, everyone belonged to a clan. Clan membership was inherited through the mother, meaning that identity, family ties, and social status largely followed the maternal line. Clans were important for providing support during difficult times. Members of the same clan regarded one another as family, even if they lived in different villages. Another fascinating aspect of traditional Cherokee society was the distinction between war and peace. Historical accounts often refer to white towns representing peace and red towns representing war. The white towns maintained peace through legal proceedings and negotiations. The red towns were responsible for military defense through war expeditions, thereby protecting the community. The Cherokee viewed war and peace as opposing forces that had to remain in balance. And rather than having a single leader who made all decisions, there were often different leaders for different situations. Not every village was entirely white or red. Some were mixed, but, for example, centered around a peace council. Historical sources describe a distinction between red and white functions within Cherokee society. Although modern descriptions sometimes portray this as a strict system of war and peace villages, the reality appears to have been more complex, with different leaders and communities taking on various roles depending on the circumstances. This emphasis on balance, war versus peace, humanity versus nature, order versus chaos, is also reflected in Cherokee stories. Figures such as the Raven Mocker and Spearfinger are said to disrupt these balances. Both are well-known figures in Appalachian folklore. The Raven Mocker could supposedly only be seen by Cherokee medicine people. It was believed to appear beside the dying and steal their life force in order to prolong its own life. The Raven Mocker is not a monster of flesh and blood. According to Cherokee tradition, it is an evil sorcerer or witch who has obtained supernatural powers. It moves through the night and is often associated with the sound of a What makes it truly dangerous is what it does. According to the stories, it appears to those who are sick or dying and steals their remaining years of life, or adding them to its own. With every stolen life force, it grows stronger and lives longer. This makes the raven mocker different from many other monsters in folklore. It does not simply kill its victims, it takes advantage of them at their weakest moment. To ordinary people, it is invisible. Only spiritual healers can detect its presence and drive it away. As a result, the raven mocker occupies a special place in Cherokee tradition. The story is not only about fear, but also about illness, mortality, and the role of healers within the community. Spearfinger is another figure from Cherokee folklore. According to legend, she lives in the mountains of what we now call the Smoky Mountains, an area within the Appalachian range where many people have disappeared. Her name refers to her most distinctive feature, a single stone finger, sharp as a spear point. With this finger, she can kill her victims. However, her true power does not lie in violence. Spearfinger disguises herself as a kind old woman. She appears near villages, speaks with people, and gains their trust. Only when her victims suspect nothing does she strike. In many versions of the story, she feeds on the livers of her victims, which are regarded as a source of life force. What makes Spearfinger so terrifying is that she is nearly impossible to defeat. Her body is said to be made of stone. Arrows, knives, and spears have no effect on her. Only when the Cherokee discover that her heart is her sole weakness are they finally able to stop her. Yet the story may be about more than just a monster. It may also serve as a warning. Do not trust appearances blindly, because not everything is what it seems. These stories offer insight into how the Cherokee viewed the world. Because of wars, trade, and colonial pressure, Shawnee groups frequently relocated. As a result, their stories are often less strongly tied to a specific mountain or valley than those of the Cherokee. Contrary to the popular image of permanent settlements, the Shawnee were relatively mobile. They moved regularly because of hunting, trade, warfare, and colonial pressures. During the summer, many Shawnee communities lived in larger villages. There, they cultivated the three sisters: corn, beans, and squash. During other seasons, they hunted deep in the forests for deer, birds, and smaller animals, such as foxes. Many European writers recorded that the Shawnee believed in a supreme spiritual force, often translated as the Great Spirit. However, for the Shawnee, the world was also filled with countless other spiritual forces present in animals, rivers, mountains, and forests. The Shawnee devoted great attention to understanding these forces and possessed extensive knowledge of their environment. Their spiritual worldview was not based on a single god or devil, but on a far more complex system. The Shawnee also had frightening stories. In the 18th century, the leader Cornstalk attempted to maintain peace between the Shawnee and colonial settlers. He was eventually captured and killed during negotiations. After his death, stories emerged claiming that his spirit wandered the land and that his death had placed a curse upon certain areas. Like the Cherokee, the Shawnee had stories about small supernatural beings. According to some traditions, tiny spirit people live deep within the forests and hills. They could help travelers, provide warnings, or mislead those who behaved arrogantly or disrespectfully. These stories varied from one community to another and were recorded less extensively than comparable Cherokee traditions. According to many Shawnee stories, the forests are never truly empty. Spirits constantly watch over them. These spirits could act as both protectors and punishers. The Shawnee also attached great importance to dreams, which were not always regarded as mere fantasies. Sometimes they were seen as messages from the spiritual world and could influence important decisions. And perhaps that is the most remarkable thing about the Appalachian Mountains. When we think of Appalachia today, we often think of horror stories. We imagine strange sounds in the darkness, creatures wandering among the trees, and mysterious tales passed down through generations. But during this research, I discovered that the true origins of these stories run much deeper. For the Cherokee, figures such as Spearfinger and the Raven Mocker were not simply monsters. They were stories that warned of danger, attempted to explain illness and death, and reminded people of the importance of caution and respect and community. For the Shawnee, many stories were not about monsters at all, but about the relationship between people, nature, and the spiritual world. The forests were not empty. The mountains were not merely stone. Everything was part of a greater whole that deserved to be treated with respect. Over the centuries, these stories changed. European settlers added their own legends. Abandoned mines, ghost stories, and mysterious disappearances became part of the folklore. In modern times, new internet myths emerge that are often mistaken for ancient traditions. Yet one thing remains the same. For thousands of years, the Appalachians have been a place where people try to make sense of the unknown, a place where misty mountain peaks, dense forests, and vast wilderness provide the perfect backdrop for stories that continue to endure. Perhaps the monsters are not real. Perhaps many modern stories are exaggerated or entirely invented. But the folklore itself is real. It tells us how people lived, what they feared, what they valued, and how they tried to understand the world around them. And perhaps that is ultimately far more interesting than any monster that might be hiding in the shadows of the mountains.